Breaking news on the drama front. I don't know if anyone else has made a video about this yet, so I was just kind of sitting here thinking, like, do I want to talk about this? Do I want to address it? Do I want to make a video about it? And in the end, I decided I should, okay? Because, you know, this is something I addressed on stream, and it's something I've talked about. It's something I'm interested in. The continued decline of ReviewTechUSA is the textbook example of a YouTuber's fall from grace, okay? We are seeing a downward spiral, the likes of which we haven't seen since, like, Nick Rekieta, okay? It is insane how, like, decades worth of narratives and, like, his copes have just kind of fallen apart over the last couple of days. It's not just because of, like, you know, what I did or, like, my involvement with him, because I did a stream a couple of days ago, like, talking about, like, some of the things he was, like, saying about me in particular. Like, this is, like, years worth of copes in regards to, like, his personal life, what he does in his free time, and, you know, how he conducts himself. Because, for a long time, ReviewTechUSA has been doing this thing where he's just like, oh yeah, I'm off the weed, I don't do drugs, I'm completely off that lifestyle now. Like, he was trying to do that for a long time, and now we have hard confirmation that no, that was never true. He came out and admitted it. So years worth of, like, coping and trying to say he was clean and trying to, like, rebuild his life completely collapsed, okay? And, you know, this is one of the things I was talking about in my live stream when, like, I started talking about him, is that, like, he brazenly lies about everything he does, right? You know, I talked at length about how he covers gaming news and how he always tries to give it this weird slant. You know, I talk about how he talks about other people, you know, like the whole, like, breakup with Jay, with, like, the thing with Kino Casino. You know, I've talked about, like, the DSP thing several times in the past, right? You know, like, you know, I've seen this guy, right? You know, not that long ago, try and say he was going to retire the applause button, you know, retire the stupid, just, like, soundboard thing that everybody hates, and no, like, didn't do it. Like, he is overly reliant on that to fill the dead air, because he is, by and large, a completely incompetent YouTuber. You know, the worst live streamer I've ever seen. Okay, I know Ashton, PPP, I know he's been coming out lately saying that Angry Joe is worse, but I don't see how he possibly could be, because at least Angry Joe does play the games sometimes. At least he has OJ there to bounce off of. At least, you know, like, Joe occasionally does, like, video game and movie reviews, right? You can argue that they're not very good, okay? You know, I've been saying that for years, but they are not as bad as what ReviewTechUSA does. Like, not even close. And now we have seen ReviewTechUSA quite possibly committing a felony in the state of New York. Like, this guy thought it would be funny to create a AI video of him making out with DarkSydePhil. Now, this is obviously, like, gross and disgusting and ridiculous, and I can't imagine who would be, like, interested in seeing such a thing, right? But, like, this is actually illegal, because in the state of New York, where ReviewTechUSA is based, like, it is illegal to create AI-generated, like, intimate videos without the other parties, like, express permission. So, because DarkSydePhil did not allow this, give permission for this video to be made, ReviewTechUSA essentially committed a crime. He could be facing serious consequences for what he did. And I'm curious if this is going to result in anything, or if he's going to get away with it, because my understanding is that he deleted the stream immediately and is, like, backtracking on it. But again, I'm already seeing a lot of people, like, I believe the images of it are saved. I believe the entire, like, video has been documented. I think people have, like, got, you know, have, like, records of it. They know he produced it. There's no weaseling out of it. That, like, oh, yeah, this was sent to me by a fan or whatever. Like, ReviewTechUSA technically produced AI porn of another person. And even if that wasn't illegal, like, to me, that really speaks volumes as to his character and what he does with his life. In that this is what he thinks is amusing. This is what he uses his time, spends his time doing. Like, this is what he shows people on stream. You know, I guess he's reviewing AI porn technology, I guess, but, like, I don't think YouTube is the place for that. Like, even in the hypothetical scenario in which he did get DSP's permission. Like, this is a clear-cut example of how deranged and delusional Rich actually is. Where he produced this thing, posted it on the internet, and thought people would find it funny. And the reality is, like, no, it wasn't funny. It was disgusting. It was depraved. You know, it made everyone realize just how insane you actually are. And as a result of that, the entire house of cards that Rich has been building up over the past 5 years has collapsed. Because more and more people are, like, starting to see, like, what I've been seeing from him. You know, his insane degeneracy, how insanely lustful he is, how he, like, clearly sexually craves, like, DarkSydePhil, because, like, you know, it's crazy. It goes beyond obsession, right? Because if you tune into, like, an RTU live stream, what you end up getting is Rich spending, like, 4 hours a night, every night, like, covering basic DSP footage. Like, I don't even think Casino talk about him that much. And they had, like, a way more, like, intimate relationship with him before everything fell apart. Like, ReviewTechUSA will spend all night talking about DSP, thinking about DSP, watching DSP, in a desperate attempt to try and pretend that he's somehow better than Phil, that he's a better person than Phil. And, like, it just becomes more and more obvious, like, what an insane cope this is, right? Because Phil, you know, makes more money on YouTube. He has his own house. He's married. He takes care of a pet, right? Like, Phil has far more accomplishments and success than ReviewTechUSA ever has, right? Ever. Like, we are seeing the beginning of the end of ReviewTechUSA. Okay, this is, like, you know, the post career relevancy, like, weird can't look away from the train wreck arc, where people like me, people like, you know, Casino, their audience, like, you know, we're watching this from a distance and we're just kind of going, like, wow, it's kind of interesting how bad things have gotten. But eventually, you know, people are going to start looking away. You know, people are going to stop being invested. You know, the audience is going to drift away naturally. Like, ReviewTechUSA simply isn't a good enough YouTuber to stay relevant in this period. In fact, he doesn't even put out enough content to stay relevant. You know, his attempts at, like, starting a rap career, his attempts at starting an ASMR channel, his attempts at, like, starting, at, like, moving away from reviewing tech in the USA, like, all of that has completely failed. He is completely reliant on being, like, an old school, like, tech YouTuber. That's it. Like, that's the only thing he's known for. That's the only thing he'll ever be. And people are just eventually going to realize that, you know, like I have, that this guy doesn't know the first thing about technology. And that is going to become more and more apparent with each passing year.